Fala galera, Marquezine de volta com mais um vídeo. Esse não era o vídeo a sair primeiro, o foco era ensinar e falar mais sobre a Reyna. Aliás, esse é o visual dela em jogo. Mas a Riot não me permitiu e começou a lançar conteúdo feito louca e eu, é claro, não podia deixar vocês desinformados. Então, nesse vídeo, eu vou mostrar a vocês parte das mudanças que estão vindo nesse lançamento, hoje, às 9 horas da manhã, e coisas que virão no futuro, então espero que gostem. Lembrando que os trailers e todo o marketing de Valorant começa logo após o lançamento, então se preparem, pois teremos cinematics de Valorant, como aquele teaser mostrado antes. E nesse lançamento, muita coisa mudou em Valorant, muita coisa foi acrescentada, tivemos mudanças na UI, temos uma tela de load melhor agora, com cards, e um mapa de fundo que está muito legal. Estas são as imagens dos mapas que estarão na tela de loading. São vistas de cima e estão muito boas. Todo personagem ao ser selecionado agora mostrará uma animação e temos um fundo de verdade agora na seleção de agentes. Na minha opinião, ficou muito maneiro. Essas são as animações. E aliás, para os curiosos, essas foram as mudanças no Omen.
Stealing sight. Blinding. Cover going out. Cover going out. Shadows traveling. Watch them run. Watch them run. Watch them run. Watch them run.
Curtiram? O jogo foi literalmente lotado de skins, uma mais linda que a outra, e também foi adicionado um Battle Pass. De fundo, vocês estão vendo tudo que vem nele. Este é o primeiro ato, acredito que por ser o primeiro episódio, e ele possui 10 páginas e custará a bagatela de R$ 29,90. Riot, patrocina nós. Vou deixar rolando o Battle Pass para vocês verem, o tempo para pular o Battle Pass está na tela, aproveitem. O novo mapa se chama Venice, como eu já havia mencionado, e está incrivelmente lindo, eu tô muito ansioso para jogar. De fundo, vocês estão vendo algumas cenas dele, e mais pra frente no vídeo, vocês verão os devs falando um pouco mais sobre ele. Tivemos também uma mudança no mapa Split, nele foi removida aquela parede imensa do meio e substituída por uma caixa. Vamos ver o quanto isso vai impactar em jogo, se é pro lado defensivo ou pro lado do atacante. E lembra da coleção Hype Beast falada no primeiro vídeo sobre o lançamento? Então, estas são as skins e as animações delas. Ao matar o último inimigo no round, um lobo aparece e ao adquirir a coleção completa, você ganha um sprayzinho de um tijolo sendo atirado com um lobinho no meio. Existem outras coleções dentro do jogo e uma skin mais linda que a outra, como eu falei, a Riot realmente se empenhou em trazer o melhor conteúdo pra gente. Agora eu vou deixar vocês com as palavras dos desenvolvedores sobre o que virá no lançamento. Vocês podem deixar rolando como um podcast se souberem inglês, mas tá tudo legendado, e no canto superior esquerdo, como sempre, estará o tópico na qual estão comentando. Então espero que gostem.
The concept of, well, I mean, obviously it stands for our launch, right? I actually sent a video around to the team today of like with the NASA launch VO in the background, and like when they yell out ignition, like that is that moment for us. It's like our first step out there beyond closed beta into our full worldwide launch, to see how this goes and how this journey with players goes. So for us, this moment, this first episode is all about introducing ourselves to our community, growing that community, listening to that community, and just going for it. And that's what that ignition is supposed to stand for. And then there'll be some cool CGs come in and some cool stuff coming that'll also help tell a bit more of that story over the coming days. I think the plan is to continue to evolve the game and the story over the course of these episodes. We debated internally whether or not to call them seasons. I think seasons is very charged. I think there's a lot of expectation built up across different games of what to expect in a season. So we didn't want to anchor ourselves too hard on a list of bullet points that people expect to see in a season, because an esports season might look slightly different. And so for us, it's just how will the game evolve over time in like big chunks. Each episode should feel like an evolution of the game in some way, whether that's content drops, feature updates, new features. Each episode should bring something new to the table for players to experience.
From a creative standpoint, I think you're going to see our launch cast, which is going to be there, which is the 11 agents that we have there. I also think you're going to see like a little bit of our evolved marketing materials that are coming on tomorrow, which are going to be pretty fun to witness. We've seen them already. We've been watching them for the past 2 weeks. And awesome. And that'll begin to introduce you a little bit into some of the stories. As you'll notice, like really, it's going to be focused on the idea of who are these agents in this group called Valorant, and sort of what do they do in the world. Now, it's going to be a little bit mysterious because we're not really very much like a storytelling type game. Like at first, we're very much a PvP kind of focused game, but we definitely are prepping things in the background that we're going to be evolving over the course of this episode. So you'll see. It was very much like the idea of vampires are cool. Well, like how do we make a vampire that feels realistic and interesting inside of our world, or like sort of more realized inside of our world? But we didn't want to go with the classic like blood-sucking vampire in that sense. We really wanted to go with something that was like, how is it tied into the power source of the world? How, like this concept of radiant, things of that sort, and how does it use those powers to really kind of create an advantage in the space as opposed to kind of just sucking life force? It's like, how does she take that life force or that energy and turn it into power? I think honestly, the way you approach Reyna is similar to the way you'd approach Jet, I'd say, is that you can't just run into a group of 5 and expect to win. You definitely have to bait them into the traps that you're going to be setting for them. And I think you have to really be thinking about, how do I divide and conquer more than anything else? Dividing and conquering is probably the biggest thing that she does, or that you can do well with her if you're really good at it. So instead of taking on 2 groups of 2 at a time or 1, just try to split them up as much as possible through clever baiting, through dividing the space up as much as you can, and then you'll see your power continuously increase as you go along. So it's a pretty strong character for people who really have strong map awareness and game state awareness. So I think fighting against her, you're going to feel a lot of emotions based on how good the other person is. She is somebody who can snowball through a fight really easily. So if she takes out the first person, she becomes more powerful. Takes out the second person, becomes more powerful. And as a result, that creates that feast or famine kind of scenario where if a really skilled player is coming across a group that they know how to divide and conquer really well, she will take over that entire scenario and become very strong. If the person playing Reyna is unable to capitalize on those situations, then they're probably going to feel really unprepared for the situation, if that makes sense. And so her abilities are very much based on taking out a person, utilizing their life force to create advantages for herself.
Yeah, there will definitely be a battle pass. The battle pass was one of those things that I think we knew we wanted to do. I think we started working on it. I don't want to say late. We didn't start working on it late, but we just like its evolution went right up until the end, like right up until the very last second. The content being developed for it, the concept behind it, how we were going to present it, all of those things were like coming in right up to the edge. And we were in a team meeting last week on Friday, and the producer of the battle pass and the content in the battle pass, like she walked us through the entire thing, and we were all just like, whoa, like players are going to love this. And I think we always wanted to create something in our battle pass that would provide players with a ton of content that they could earn, that would really reward them for their time and their investment, but that would feel really connected to the world, that would give them tons of different ways to express themselves. But we were throwing the kitchen sink in there for a while, and then all of a sudden what came out of it was something we're really, really proud of. There's a bunch of exclusive content in it. I think there's weapon skins in it, like spoilers. I think it's a very, very good and cool battle pass. And for those of you who like super cute things, there is a super cute gun buddy in the pass that I can't get enough of. It brings me joy and glee every time I see it. I feel like I know, and then I feel like I'm gonna say it, and then someone's gonna slack me with like what are you talking about, lady? It's 1,000 Valorant points, yes, Joe? 1,000? Is that right?
I should probably confirm that though.
We should probably $10 is what I'm hearing. Yes, $10 entry fee into the battle pass. Also, like the free pass as well. If you just want the free experience through it. But yeah, $10 to get into the battle pass. Not at launch.
As you can tell in the post game screen, like for the post game sort of screens that we have, we do care a lot about the idea of like being able to deep dive your stats, understand what happened inside of a game. A lot of the background stat systems where we aggregate that stuff is actually they're not ready yet, but we are collecting them. We want to be using them to be meaningful to you, not just to give you stats. So there's features that are coming online in a bit later that are going to actually utilize that to be a lot more meaningful for you.
Yeah, we are definitely working on some API support for third-party sites as well. So you'll be seeing those things coming online over the course of that first launch.
Ascent takes place in a Venice-like city, and you'll notice that it is our oldest map, which is pretty crazy because for the longest time we had this map. There was a prototype map that we played that back in the day used to be called Market, and we changed it over the course of time, and through different iterations of where we took our creative space and through tons of testing, we turned it eventually into Ascent. And that map was it originally meant to be our baseline map? The idea of a 3-lane map that was very straightforward. There are some interesting mechanics on it though, which have to do with opening and closing and cutting off paths. And you'll see that things come live. I won't talk about all the specifics of how that works right now, but you'll see that there are mechanics that actually have to do with closing off certain secondary paths onto the actual sites, the bomb sites. And so it'll be fun to see how people utilize it. Our goal for creating this new game mode was really the idea of you go through these long, stressful sessions. What do you play in between if you just need to cool off? Let's say you had a really bad game and you want to cool off and you just want to have a fun social experience with a few friends, pull them in, have a quick experience just so you can actually chill a little bit. That's sort of what we actually focused it on. We didn't want to make it too different from what the core game is like. And so it takes some of those concepts but twists them a little bit in terms of actually adds a few different things and shortens the game length a lot. So really the goal of that game mode is just go in, try some new stuff out, have a little bit of fun, see what you get out of it, and then kind of go forward that way. There will be some adjustments to ranked as it goes into live. There's going to be additional sort of feature support for it. We will not have solo duo queue, and I'll explain a little bit more about that as we're going into it. And then what was the last one? Leaderboards we are currently looking into. We don't know if they'll be ready immediately at launch, but it is something we want to support. The idea of at least the problem set of how do we make it more granular at the top? Because I think really it boils down to once you get into Valorant, you want to know that there's sort of like some sort of like way you chase the ladder at the Valorant level to understand where you sit on it. Or now that it's not called Valorant anymore, that level. So let's get back to solo duo queue. So two things that we want to make sure that are solved are the idea of how do we make sure solo and duo players or even small group players are getting in and getting fair matches. That we're definitely always tweaking and tuning towards, So that's like the idea of I'm not always getting put against 5 stacks. I'm not always feeling like that being put against 5 stacks is a bad thing, What's interesting is that it's very much an experiential thing. When we looked across all of our data, as we collected it throughout the entire course of beta, the actual difference of performance between a solo versus a 5 stack versus like a small group versus a 5 stack or anything of the sort actually wasn't that much of a difference. It's much more of a perceived problem, especially because most people don't actually know if they're being put against a 5 stack. They just assume based on the level of coordination that they see on the other side of the team. So what we don't want to do ultimately is we don't want to make it bad for people to play together. And not making it bad for people to play together, making it good for people to play solo can make it really bad for people to play together. And I'll give you an example why. Let's say X percentage of your queue ends up sitting inside of like solo queue, and you have like 80% inside of solo queue, then you end up with this 20% of group of people who are no longer incentivized to play together in flex or even in 5s because of the fact that their queue times get super long and their queue experience gets really bad because the match health gets really bad because there's not enough people there. What we want to do is find a way that everyone, both solos and duos, feel like it's a fair system, as well as 5s, when they're inside of one space. And so we're looking at things like ensuring more on the level of groups get matched against groups, that we have a lot more of those going on. Give us some breathing room. We really want to make sure that it's a great experience, and we're going to keep iterating to make sure it's as good as we possibly. I'm going to take this one because I get to say some good news. There will be, but not immediately launch, but it will be soon after launch. We're going to have a surrender feature that's soon.
Very soon after launch. Yeah.
But there's actually 2 problems there that I want to cover. One is that AFK punishments, we've actually gotten a lot more severe on AFK punishments. So we've seen a lot less AFKers actually, which is really awesome in terms of overall play data. But we want to make sure if that actually happens inside of a game, that a team can sort of take agency of that situation and be able to figure out if they want to play out the rest of the match. So we are definitely looking into delivering that soon after launch. Let's talk about the FPS drops first. We've actually done a lot of work on the performance side. We should actually be seeing a lot of performance game back, which is great. We're not completely done yet because we want to continue to improve combat performance, which can have not like major drops, but some drops as it goes along the way. And we're going to continue to actually improve those in the following few patches to go after. Basically, we want to be absolutely silky smooth, and right now it might be a little bit of a wave, And so we're going to make that happen over the course.
But I think
baseline performance is going up way really high.
Yeah.
So on the other side, the Vanguard stuff, we've actually stabilized a lot more, added a lot more stabilizations to Vanguard, so it should have many frequently disconnecting scenarios. And I know the Vanguard anti-cheat team basically make sure that feature is feeling really good for launch. So we should see a lot of improvements there. Now, if anything, of course, occurs, we will hop on it as soon as possible and try to find a fix for it. So there's a few bug fixes inside of the spectator mode, which would be nice for launch. I will say that it's not complete. We are definitely going to keep hammering at it as we go along because there's things that there's still some issues we haven't gotten to inside of the current spectator mode. But additionally, there's features that we're working on with the esports team to actually make sure that broadcast in the future looks good. I will say that we didn't plan for our game to be broadcasted as much as it is currently, so we're catching up to the need at the current time. But we have plans moving into the future, especially into the next few sort of beats inside of this episode, that will help to improve this what we call the observer experience.
No, just that I think that this is it's a feature that's coming on probably later than people want it, but one that we're planning to invest quite a bit into. We really want the act of watching this game to be just as exciting as playing it, and we're not there. We're not there yet. So it's something that we're very focused on figuring out, like what is the bar we want to hit, and I think we have to align on that. We're definitely moving forward on making progress, but I think we need to figure out what is the bar we want to hit. I think we're realizing it's even higher than what we thought it was, not just because of what we're hearing from players, but because what we want for our players. So yeah, it's something we're going to invest a bunch into.
Espero que tenham gostado do vídeo, galera. Tentei trazer o máximo de informação possível para vocês. Teremos mais vídeos ao longo desse lançamento, então se inscreve para não perder os próximos. Muito conteúdo legal vindo. Se gostou do vídeo, deixa seu like, compartilha. Todo esse incrível feedback que estou recebendo tem me deixado extremamente feliz e motivado a trazer mais vídeos para o canal. Não esquece de se inscrever e até a próxima, guys.